Welcome back. We're going to continue talking about conics. Now we're going to develop some ideas about circles. We have several objectives for this teaching video. Thank you for joining me, by the way. Our first objective is how do I write an equation if I'm given the center of the circle and the radius of a circle. What does the equation of a circle look like? How do I write an equation of a circle that I want to translate? So, for instance, if I am given the equation of a circle centered at 0, 0, how do I interpret the translation that might move it left or right or up or down? Third, we want to ask ourselves, how do I write an equation if I'm given the graph of a circle? And then I want to be able to learn how to write an equation in standard form. We'll be given like an equation that isn't already in standard circle form, and we'll have to create it by completing the square. So that's the last thing that we want to do. And then once we do that, then we can ID the center and the radius. So the equation of a circle looks like this in its most general form. It's going to be x minus h, that squared, y minus k, that squared. There's always a plus sign in between these on circles. Circles are always adding. And then the constant on the right-hand side is our r squared. So the center is what we call hk. So because there is a minus sign here, the center is the opposite sign of this number inside with x. That's my h, that's my x coordinate. And then the opposite sign of k, and that's my y coordinate. So you have to remember it's the opposite of h, the opposite of k. And it's the same reason that whenever it's inside a parenthesis, it's going to move in the opposite direction because we actually set it equal to 0 to find out what that is. So it's the opposite of h, the opposite of k. So let's just say, for instance, I have x plus 2 squared plus y minus 7 squared equals 16. All right, my center would be the opposite of h. This is h, so negative 2, and then the opposite of k, positive 7. Okay? Now, when the center is at 0, 0, the equation gets a lot simpler because if I were to plug in a 0 for h and a 0 for k, it would just simplify to x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Okay? So if you feel like you can only remember one form of this equation, I'm going to recommend you learn this one, okay? Because it works for every circle regardless of its center. This one only works when you're centered at 0, 0. All right, so to write an equation from the given center and radius, notice that we're at 0, 0, and the radius is 5, okay? So you could go straight into x squared plus y squared. I'm going to show you why it works this way. So I'm going to plug in x minus h squared. This is the one I'm going to plug into, is equal to r squared. I'm plugging in a 0 for h, so I get x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared is equal to 25. So then I get x squared plus y squared equals 25. Okay? Now if we want to write an equation that's not centered at 0, 0 and has a radius, okay, we start with the same thing. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. Okay, now I'm going to plug in my values. So I get x minus negative 2, and then that's squared, plus y minus 5, and that's squared, is equal to 9 squared. And so now I just simplify. X minus 2 plus 2 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals 81. This is plus because, let me hit my highlighter here real quick, minus a negative becomes positive. That's why it's plus, okay? Why don't you try the video question with this slide? Remember to write your information down so that if you get the wrong answer, you can ask me about it in class tomorrow. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to translate or move our circle around the coordinate plane, okay? So you're going to be given a circle that's centered on 0, 0. See how this one's centered on 0, 0? My H and my K are both 0, okay? Now I want to move it left 2 and up 3. So left would be a -2, and up would be a plus 3, okay? So you have to know that the left and right, remember left and right is your H, up and down is your K. That hasn't changed. See, there's some really nice consistencies. Okay, so that means my H is -2 and my K is 3. So now I plug them into my formula. Write your formula down and now plug in x minus -2 squared plus y minus 3 squared is equal to 5. And now I'm going to get rid of those double negatives. So I get x plus 2 squared plus y minus 3 squared is equal to 5. And I just wrote the equation for the translation. So try the video question. Write down what you did so that we can talk about it if you get it wrong. All right, let's try another one. Let's write the translation of x squared plus y squared equals 12. I don't want to move it left or right. I just want to move it down. So there's no left, right. So my h is equal to 0. Down says -4. So my k is equal to -4. So you're going to write the formula. And now we're going to plug in. I have x squared. When I plug in a 0, it doesn't change it. Plus y minus -4. That squared is equal to 12. Let me get rid of my random little line here. I just don't even understand. All right, one day I will. So now I get, but not today. So now I get x squared plus y plus 4 squared equals 12. And you just wrote the equation for the translation. So try the video question, write it down, talk about it tomorrow. All right, here's the next thing we're going to do. We're going to be given a graph, and we're going to use it to write the equation of the circle. So you got to identify the center. So I'm counting 2 units left. So my x is -2. And I'm counting 2 units up, so my y is +2. So my center is -2, +2. And now I have to find the radius. So I'm going to look at this point here. I'm going to pick this. They don't give me an x and y to use, so I'm going to pick a horizontal radius, okay? And that point is 0, 2. Now, we could just count because it's horizontal, and you can just count on the verticals. If they had given you a slanted one, you have to use the distance formula. So I'm going to use the distance formula just to show you that it works. So the distance here is the radius. That's what we're looking for. And so we're going to use, just like we practiced before, the distance formula. We're going to write that down. And then we're going to plug in. So I get -2 minus 0 squared plus 2 minus 2 squared. This becomes -2, and -2 squared is 4, so I get the square root of 4. This becomes 0. So my R is 2. I could have got it from counting because I could count the horizontal. You can't always know that. And if they give you a point on the line, you're going to have to check it, all right? Now we're going to write the formula for a circle. Any circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. And now we're going to plug in. So we're going to get x minus -2, and we're going to square that, plus y minus 2 squared. And then we're going to take this 2 and we're going to square it, and that becomes 4. Let me write it as 2 squared just so you know where I got it from. It's my radius squared, 2 squared. So I get x plus 2 squared. Ugh, why does that always look so bad? Plus y minus 2 squared equals 4. And there's our equation of our circle. Okay? Now, I want you to complete this one on your paper, then answer the video question. And I'll be looking for this one tomorrow when I come around in class, all right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to be given a nice equation of a circle, and we're going to have to identify the center and the radius. We've kind of done this in different pieces. Now we're just going to pull it together. So I have to identify h and k. So h has to be the opposite of this number. So h has to equal -2. K has to be the opposite of that number. So k has to equal +5. So my center is -2, 5. That's my HK, all right? My R squared is going to be 5. Don't you love that? And so R is equal to the square root of 5. So why don't you try the video question? Write it down. If you get it wrong, ask me about it in class tomorrow. All right, now we have to do a little work on this one. I'm going to go a little bit slower, talk a little bit slower, be a little bit more elaborate, because this looks like a mess, right? Bunch x's squared, y squared, x's and y's, and we have to get it into the equation of a circle. So here's what we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to regroup, and we're going to move our x squared and our x next to each other so that we can complete the square. And we're going to move our y squared and our y close to each other. So here's how I'm going to do it, and I'm going to sneak way over here, okay? So I'm going to write x squared. Now watch, I'm going to pick up the plus 6x. And then I'm going to end up completing the square, so I'm going to leave a space for that. Okay? And then plus y squared minus 10y. Look at how I picked up that sign with it. Plus, and now since I'm adding something on the inside here, I have to subtract something. And since I'm adding something on the inside here, I have to subtract something, and that's going to equal -29. Okay? Now I'm going to actually do that completing the square process. So I'm doing this step, but I'm going to start from here. So I have x squared plus 6x plus, now I'm going to take half of 6, that's 3, and I'm going to square it. 3 squared is 9. Then I have my y squared. I'm going to take half of -10, and I'm going to square it. That's plus 25. Now, seeing as I added 9 here, I'm going to subtract 9. Since I added 25 here, I'm going to subtract 25. And that whole thing equals -29. And there's that stinky old line again. Okay, now I'm going to simplify. I'm going to start by writing this as x plus half of b, 3 squared, plus y minus half of b, 5, squared. This simplifies to negative 34. Now I'm just getting mad. Seriously. And now I'm going to move my 34 over. And then I get x plus 3 squared plus y minus 5 squared is equal to positive 5. Now I can identify the center. It's the opposite of h. So it's the opposite of 3, so h equals the opposite of 3. K equals the opposite of negative 5. So my center is negative 3, 5, and my radius is the square root of 5. So I want to thank you for listening with me as I teach you about circles. What we'll work on in class is the daily assignment. And just thank you for being there. I'll talk to you tomorrow.